the Washington football team next, and then the Eagles bringing up the rear. Now, Swagoo, you and I have had our little disagreements over this. I see how you are receiving this as validation of your perspective. Go ahead. What do you think of those rankings, Mr. Spears?
Makes sense to me. I would have had Washington football team too. Don't get me wrong. I think that defense and how they can take a leap with Ryan Fitzpatrick as opposed to betting on Daniel Jones playing well. We'll see what Daniel Jones turns into. But the Cowboys, listen, G, this is what I tried to tell you when you were being hard-headed and wanting to fight me about the NFC East. We all have to remember that the Cowboys were ravaged by injury as well on the offensive line. They dealt with a scheme that nobody fit on the defensive side of the football. We all watched everything transpire. And not to mention, the quarterback tore his ankle up and was out for the majority of the season. And it wasn't like these games in the division were blowouts. When the Cowboys played against the New York Giants and the Washington football team and the Philadelphia, they weren't blowouts. These were still competitive games. So if you put Dak Prescott back in that lineup, if you bring Lyle Collins back with Zach Martin and Tyron Smith, and you draft well, and Dan Quinn brings over 4-3, where all of these defenders fit and were drafted for because Rob Marinelli and Chris Rashad were there, I expect them to be a way better football team than they were this previous season, and that's why they're the best team in the NFC East. It took a damn power ranking for you to believe it, and I've been on this damn show 3 years. Believe me sometimes, G.
Listen, I don't have to, I just looked it up. Thanksgiving Day, Washington 41, the Cowboys 16 in Dallas. I'm not sure that was such a competitive game. David Pollack, let me come to you. Who do you have as the best team in the NFC East?
Well, first of all, Greeny, I think Marcus epitomizes the Cowboys fans to a T. They always celebrate preseason power rankings. That's what they do. That's who they are, right? We can't celebrate in the season, so, whoa, preseason, baby. Vegas odds, power rankings. That's who we are. That's what we are. We hadn't done anything else to celebrate in a long time, so let's celebrate those. Listen, I know they're going to switch their scheme. Marcus, they can switch their scheme and they can get better on defense for sure. I think they got to get better personnel-wise on defense too. I think that's going to have to help. I got Washington, man. I think Fitzmagic coming into the quarterback spot. I look at that defense. I think it's only going to get better. I love bringing in Samuel because I think he's a guy that you can do all the new school stuff with and have a lot of fun with, another toy in that offense. So I'll take Washington. But Marcus, Greeny, let Marcus and Cowboys fans celebrate the preseason rankings.
I love it. Dan Graziano, who do you have?
It's all so grim, right? I mean, we're talking about these rankings relative to each other. They're all in the 20s. That's a rough time for the NFC East. So what I've learned in my time watching and observing and covering the NFC East is that we have no idea what's going to happen. So what I've been saying is I think something comes out of nowhere and surprises you. Give me the Giants. I think they'll be back. Daniel Jones can stay healthy. If Saquon Barkley comes back healthy, give me the Giants to be the team that wins the 8 or 9 games it always seems to take to win this division. And I'll just take my chances because we don't know. We
will see. We will see as we go. The power ranking 1990. Jim Everett and Mike Phipps both went number 3 in their respective drafts. Graziano is up 6 on Hembo on this season. And the subject, again, is Justin Fields, who had a prolific 2 seasons at Ohio State. 20-2 as a starter, second highest overall QBR in the history of that metric. Overall, he was super efficient. One area of concern is in pressure. In 2020, his QBR dropped nearly 80 points when facing heat compared to when he had a clean pocket. The good and the bad, all of it will be on display today as Fields takes part in Ohio State's Pro Day from Columbus. And we can debate the value of those Pro Days, maybe a little more important this year than others because there's no combine and teams don't have the same opportunity to spend time with these players. So we'll see. We'll see what we see from him today. And along with Swagoo and Pollack, Matt Miller, our draft insider, joins us here. And so, Matt, let me put the question to you as directly as I can. When the season began, Justin Fields I felt like neck and neck with Trevor Lawrence. All of a sudden, his stock has clearly fallen. Why is that?
Yeah, Greeny, I think the draft process is too long. We all get a little bit bored this time of year, but I do think the NFL has started to say, maybe we want the safer guy, which remember, Mitchell Trubisky was the safer guy as well in the 2017 NFL draft. But I think we're becoming enamored with Mac Jones' numbers a little bit. We're looking at the, creative plays of Zach Wilson while forgetting Justin Fields never lost a game in the Big Ten, which is still pretty good at football. And he was also a great leader. You mentioned he's been in the spotlight since his sophomore year in high school when he and Trevor Lawrence were neck and neck as the top quarterbacks coming out of those classes. What he did at Georgia, what he did at Ohio State was exceptional. I think we're just letting this process drag out too far. People are starting to knock things that maybe aren't there. I've always called it prospect fatigue. I think that's where we're at with Justin Fields, forgetting just how great he is as a person, a player, and an athlete.
Yeah, so David, pick up on that thought if you would. It is right. He's also the one that we've seen so much of. I guess we've seen a lot of Mac Jones as well because Alabama, every game is on TV and they won the championship. But when you look at Trey Lance and Zach Wilson, they're sort of like these unknowns, whereas Justin Fields, every game he's ever played, we have watched. And I think to some degree, we tend to pick him apart. Are we picking him apart too much?
Of course. Of course we are. Listen, again, I talk about a comparison for him. He reminds me of a more athletic version of Dak Prescott. I mean, his accuracy is unbelievable. You want to talk about the good traits in his game. He's 6'3". He's 225 pounds. He's going to run 4.4. So he's got the new school body. He's got, by the way, his mentality. He pushed for the Big Ten to play. He had a voice. He's a great leader. There is so many great things to love about Mr. Fields. I mean, he's an animal. He checks a ton of the boxes, but does he have to work on things? Yeah, and that's what the hard part of, and I think that's what Matt was talking about a second ago. We can pick at these guys and we can tell you strengths and weaknesses. They're going to decide whether they're going to really get in the lab and fix a lot of these things, and we can't control who's going to be the best. A lot of times you're just guessing and throwing darts, but this is the pick-apart season where we're going to overanalyze everything.
And so, again, I want to, for those who are just joining us, and I want to go right in on this, Marcus Spears, after Trevor Lawrence, if you had the second pick in this draft, of all these quarterbacks, which one would you take?
Justin Fields. Listen, man, the ceiling. All of these guys are being drafted off traits and potential. I can't say that enough. Like when we're having a conversation about everyone after Trevor Lawrence, all of these guys we're talking about can be this. They can do this at a high level. Can they come and develop? Can they get in the right situation and become the quarterbacks or reach the potential that we all see? I don't know how you dismiss that when you look at Justin Fields. DP is talking about his body type. We've seen the film on him. He's played at a very high level. He's dealt with being in the limelight for a long time. There are a lot of things to love about Justin Fields. But if we draft and if we bottle all of these guys and we say, well, we think they can be this, I need to know where is the ceiling for Justin Fields falling short compared to the other guys after Trevor Lawrence.
And so now this becomes intriguing. It becomes less about 3 than it becomes about 2. So Matt Miller, Mel Kiper's big board, he agrees. And on his big board, his quarterbacks, he has them ranked in the following order. Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields 2, Zach Wilson 3. What do you think of that, Matt, as far as the Jets, it seems, are locked in on Zach Wilson at 2 over Fields? Are they making a mistake?
Yeah, Greeny, I've had it that way on my board for a while as well. So I'm glad that the Godfather and I agree on these quarterback rankings. To what Swaggy was saying, if you're going to tell me we're betting on potential, give me the biggest, fastest, strongest armed quarterback not named Trevor Lawrence. Guess what? That's Justin Fields. It's not Zach Wilson. It's not Trey Lance. And David mentioned it. He might run a 4.3 today at the Pro Day. It's going to be electric. So I think the Jets are probably moving more towards Zach Wilson. That's what you hear around the NFL. Being at the BYU Pro Day on Friday, that's definitely what a lot of people are feeling. And it does seem like maybe the NFL is overthinking Justin Fields. Maybe they're hesitant because of Dwayne Haskins coming out of that scheme. But like what Marcus said, if you're asking me to bet on potential, I'm going to take the guy who has the best overall traits, and that is Justin Fields. All
right, again, it's his pro day today. Mac Jones is working out at Alabama, so there's a lot to watch. Matt, outstanding. Thank you. We'll come back to you for sure very soon. Meantime, ESPN and our NFL team has released their NFL power rankings post-free agency, and here you see the top 5. Kansas City is number 1, followed by the defending champs Tampa, then Green Bay, the Bills, and the Ravens. That's the top 5 teams. In the meantime, if you look at the rankings for the NFC East, because they went 1 through 32 on this thing, they have the Cowboys ranked as the best team in that division,